In this video, I want to show you how you can use an SPI I/O port expander. In this specific case, I'm going to make use of the MCP23S17. Let me get to my slide. So the whole purpose of this device, of course, is to use a microcontroller with, let's say, limited I/O pins, and then you can use this expander to all of a sudden get quite a lot of I/O pins extra on your microcontroller. As I've said, you can add more digital I/O pins to your project. This 16-bit I/O expansion, it actually provides 16 extra pins, which can be inputs or outputs. The voltage levels can be up to 3.3 or 5 volts, which is the norm for microcontrollers. But it can, if you look at the voltage span of this specific device, it's a little bit less and also a little bit more. Bigger than 5 and less than 3.3, but for microcontroller purposes, that's fine. It makes use of the SPI communication protocol, making use of the clock line, the master out, slave in, master in, slave out, and also the SS pin of the microcontroller, which is actually the control bit or the switch on or switch off bit for this communication. Chip select, that was the name I was looking for. Then it's also got, as it says there, an int A, int B. It is possible to actually create interrupts if there are changes on the I/O pins, or especially on inputs. Then it can be seen on two hardware pins, which is connected or is part of this I/O port expander, int A and int B. In this specific video, I'm not going to discuss interrupts in detail, but maybe in a later video I will do that. Addressability, this thing can support up to at least 8 devices on the same SPI bus, making use of 3 address lines. So it is actually possible to, if you connect 8 of them times 2 additional ports, all of a sudden you're sitting with 16 additional ports, which is possible. The current capability, this thing can sync or source 25 milliamp per pin and a total of 150 milliamp for the package. It's breadboard friendly, so it comes in a plastic dual inline package also, which can be used on a breadboard. It is making use of 8-bit mode. The microcontroller can see this device as an 8-bit port, or you can see it as 2 8-bits or a single 16-bit I/O port. It can also, microcontroller configure each I/O pin as either an input or an output, and it can also enable or disable internal pull-up resistances if the pin was made as an input or set up as an input. It can automatically enable internal pull-up resistances. Just want to see if I covered. Yes. I'm now going to discuss the different control registers in this specific device, this I/O port expander. There's a specific register by the name of IOCON. As you can see, this is I believe this data sheet is actually incorrect. It should be IOCON A here and IOCON B here. But yes, let's have a look at that. I'm not 100% sure about this one, but the point is IOCON, there's a specific bit in it called bank. It's bit number 7. And if it is 0, if it's set as 0, then your registers, the white and the blue will actually be distributed as you see it here. So this similar registers, associated registers, that this is the I/O direction register. A and B will be one after the other. The polarity register A and B will then also be one after the other. And as you can see, this is the addresses 00 for direction B, it's 01. For polarity A, it's 02. For polarity B, it's 03, etc. Now, if I go to, let me go to the data sheet. It's not the data sheet. Here it is. As you can see, if that bank bit is a 0, this is the way the registers will be placed. It is also possible, if I scroll down here, to change that and make the IO or that bank bit a 1, as it says there. That bank bit, if it's a 1, as you can see now, the white areas are basically be placed one after the other, and the blue areas are then placed one after the other. Previously, if you remember, IO direction B would have been placed at 0, 1. Now it's sitting at 1, 0, which is a big difference. And the polarity is also shifted down to 1, 1. So it's just the way you want to set up these registers, which will determine how they are, what they look like. In the case where I've used this in the program, I made use of a 0 in IOCON bank. I made use of the 0, so this is the way my registers. So if I'm going to make use, and I am going to make use of direction direction B, I'm going to make that or see that as address 0, 1, and so forth. So in specifically like this, the general purpose pull-up resistances, it's going to be a 0C for A and 0D for B. So I will be discussing all of these registers just now. So let's look at them, and we will go through each and every one of these registers. But as I've said, the one which is really important in the beginning is really that IOCON register, the one that you see here. You have to set it up first, and then the rest will follow. These are also registers that actually, it's just part of that bank, or part of the way it's being placed, if the bank is 0. The first very important registers is the IO direction A and direction B, and this controls the direction of the data. It tells that the device, my master device, can tell this device a specific pin must become an input or an output. If you go to this register and you go to write to a specific position or a specific bit, as it says there, a high, it will become an input. In other words, a 1 will be an input, and the input I here can be associated with a 1. If it is a low or a 0, it will become an output. So the O and the 0 will be associated. The next registers will be I-pol A and I-pol B, and this is only for input pins. This register allows the user to configure the polarity of a specific pin. If it is a 1 in a specific position, the GPI register reflects an opposite logic state of the input pin. So if the input pin is a 0, it will reflect as a 1. Maybe you've got a use for that. In my case, I am not going to do that. I will just use it. What you see is what you get. If a 1 comes in, I will read a 1. Then it is possible, as I've said, I'm not going to talk too much about this one, but there's a GP interrupt enable A and an interrupt enable B. And as it says there, this specific register works together with def val A or B, and also with intcon A or B registers. So it is possible. So if there are changes on your input pins, your input pins, if there are changes, you can actually set it up in this specific GP int enable A or B, and use this, the def val X and intcon X together. So these three registers are used for basically enabling interrupts. As I've said in this specific videos, I'm not going to use them. So as I've said, this def val A is also part of that interrupt enable. So I'm not going to discuss that in this video. And also this intcon is also part of that well, it's part of this interrupt enable or part of the interrupts. So I'm not going to discuss that one also. This is the IOCON. As I've said, this is the one that's really important to us for the start. That's the very start. As I've said, we're going to make use of bank being a 0, where the A and B registers are paired, one after the other. Whereas if it's bank 1, the registers associated with each port are actually on a certain group and so forth. So, but we've already seen what they are used for. Now I want to quickly just discuss the IOCON, that specific register, so, and the way I have done it. There's bit number 7, which is the bank bit. So if you make it a 1, the registers associated with each port are separated into different banks. This is what we see, white at the top. We saw it previously, white at the top, blue at the bottom. I've made it a 0 in my specific program. The registers are in the same bank. So the addresses are sequential, one after the other. If you see a line below, this is what I have used. There's also a mirror bit, which is called mirror. This is the interrupt pins mirror bit. If it's a 1, the interrupt pins are internally connected. So it is possible, I've mentioned before, int A and int B. You can connect them internally, and if any interrupt occurs, there's going to be a single output that says there's a specific interrupt. But because I'm not making use of interrupts, in my case, if you make it a 0, in actual fact, it separates int A and associate that with port A, and int B is associated with port B. Again, it doesn't really matter because in my example, I'm not going to make use of interrupts, so it doesn't really matter if it's a 1 or a 0. Bit number 5, the sequential operation mode bit. I've made this a 1. It says if it's a 1, the sequential operation is disabled and the address pointer does not increment. So there's an address pointer to these registers. And if you disable it, you will actually tell this device each and every time you have to tell it to which register it must go to. And it will not, if it says with 0, once you've written something into a specific register, it will automatically update and point to the next one. So I have disabled that. In my case, making it a 1 disables it. So because we do not want this to automatically increment the pointer. This slew rate control bit, what slew rate means is actually a certain voltage per microseconds. So it shows you how fast it goes from 0 to 1, or is it 1 to 0. It's the rate of change. And in my case, I made this a 0 because I want the slew rate to be enabled, meaning I want to make this as fast as possible, so that there's no misunderstanding in data communication. This hardware address enable bit, we've made this a 1. It enables the address pins. In other words, if I've only got one device connected, those address pins A0, 1, 2, and 3, A0, 1, and 2 will be made, in the first one will be zeros, and if you connect another one, it will be 1, 0, 0, starting at A0. But then we must also enable the specific pin to distinguish between different devices. If we make this pin a 0, it disables the address pin, so it will only look for 0, 0, 0. That's what the microcontroller will only look for. It can only, this specific device can only provide then one specific address. Then there's bit number 2, ODR. It configures the interrupt pin as an open drain output. In my case, I just said, let's make it a 0. An active driver output. So the in-pol bit sets the polarity. Bit number 1, in-pol, this bit sets the polarity of the interrupt output pin. And basically, again, it doesn't really matter. Active, it means if there's an interrupt and you make this a 0, the specific bit, it will go from high to low. It's active low. It goes from high to low. And if you make it a 1, it's an active high. So the pin will go from low to high. But because I do not make use at all of interrupts, it's not necessary to use it. But 0, it's not implemented. Then this general purpose, this is pull-up resistances. This is where we can actually activate the pull-up resistances for inputs. The GPPU register controls the pull-up resistances, and if you activate them by making this specific bit in this register a 1, it's going to activate 100 kilo ohm resistance as a pull-up resistances. There's an interrupt flag register. So if you make use of interrupts, you will make use of this specific register also. As I've said, I'm not going to make use of that in this example. There's also an interrupt capture register. So if an interrupt occurred, you can actually go to this specific register to see what caused the interrupt. Again, I'm not making use of that. Then, of course, the very, very, very important one, this is the general purpose input output A and input B. This reflects the value on the port. In other words, the physical output port. You will read from this register. Reading from this register reads the port. So if there's values on this specific pin or pins, input pins, you will see it here. And also writing to these register pins can actually write to the output latch, and it will also push it out to the specific pins. So this is where if I've set a pin up as an input, I will read the input values on these pins. If I've set it up as an output, I will actually write to these pins and then also see what is happening on the outside of this specific device. This output latch register, this register provides access to the output latches. A read from this register results in a read from the OLAD and not the port itself. A write to this register modifies the output latches, that modifies the pins configured as output. So it is possible to go to this register and specifically read this register to see what was written beforehand. And this is then the way this specific device will be addressed. There's your opcode. As you can see, the upper nibble is 4. And this is the address. The one that I'm going to connect, of course, will be 000. And if you want to read from this device, this pin will be a 1. And if you want to write to this device, this pin will be a 0. And of course, this will be the address. What you see here is the address of those registers. So if I want to talk to, let's say, IO direction A, that's the address they're talking about. It's going to be 00. If I want to talk to direction B, I'll place 01 in that specific register, or in this specific register address area. So in my next video, I'm going to show you now how I have implemented this, making use of it at Mega 328P. So go to the next video and then you can see how this thing will operate. Thank you.